Joining me now from the rotunda of the Saskatchewan Legislature is Finance Minister Kevin Doherty. Mr. Doherty, let's start with the PST increase. What was your thinking in raising it by 1%?
Well, what we've heard, Jill, across the province as we looked at the volatility and resource revenues over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, we've had the perfect storm here with respect to commodity prices all going down at almost the exact same time, whether it's oil and gas, potash, uranium, all of those major non-renewable resources that we use for our revenue base to provide for the programs here in the province in healthcare and education and social services. We've had a downturn in that particular area of revenue base of $1.3 billion over the course of the last couple of years. So many people were telling us you have to get off on your over-reliance on resource revenues, and I would agree with that. So what we looked at doing was how do we provide a revenue base that is sustainable over the long term to provide the programs and services that the people of this province want. Therefore, we're moving from tax on productivity and income, that being income tax, both corporate and personal, and more to a consumption tax. Keeping in mind, we're keeping in place the exemptions for those basic necessities in life like groceries and reading materials, electricity, prescriptions, any of those other kinds of things that people expect and not to pay tax on. We're not taxing those, but we're expanding the base, increasing the PST rate by 1 point to help us provide a stable revenue source to pay for our programs.
You are eliminating some of the exemptions, though. Children's clothes is something that would catch the attention of a lot of families in our province. Why do that?
Well, we looked at what other provinces are doing. Those provinces that are harmonized with their provincial sales tax, with the federal GST, they tax children's clothing. I can tell you this. One is, first of all, we needed to find sources of revenue. When you look at our exemption list, we needed to find sources of revenue. Children's clothing was on that list of exemptions. Secondly, we currently have a lot of leakage in children's clothing taxation, or non-taxation, if you will, across the province. We know through our auditors going out there, there's an awful lot of retailers that were saying, you know, if this piece of clothing is for your child, you don't have to pay sales tax on it. So we weren't capturing that kind of revenue, and it was, frankly, there was a lot of leakage going on with respect to that particular exemption.
STC, you got a bit emotional today talking earlier with reporters about the decision to make that cut and the job losses affected. Why was that something that your government decided it needed to do, given earlier the position was that it wouldn't be cut?
Well, we looked at STC, and I give the minister and the senior management team at STC full credit for doing everything they possibly could over the last number of years to present a business model and to try to change things to have a business model that was sustainable. The reality is that back in 2007, a number of years ago, 10 years ago or so, the taxpayers of this province were subsidizing every passenger on STC to the tune of about $25. Today, those same taxpayers are subsidizing those same riders to the tune of $94 every time a passenger gets on there. The ridership had just gone down so significantly over the last number of years. There was only one profitable route in the entire province between Regina and Saskatoon. Every now and then, PA to Saskatoon was profitable, but one route in the entire province. Secondly, it's going to cost the government of Saskatchewan taxpayers approximately about $85 million over the course of the next 5 years to make STC sustainable. We felt, when we're looking at the core delivery of services in the province that the government of Saskatchewan should be responsible for, that $85 million could be better spent in the areas of healthcare, social services, and education. When you look at what I announced last June as far as transformational change was concerned, Jill, these are the kinds of decisions we were talking about. When we look at what are the core services that the taxpayers of this province expect their government to deliver, I'm not sure a bus company is on that list.
As far as sustainability goes, when you look at Alberta's model that we just learned about last week, really trying to have this expectation of a recovering resource revenue, you're taking a different direction. Why is that?
Well, I can't speak for the government of Alberta. What I surmised from reading their materials, from what they brought down, was their finance minister had said that when oil rebounds, and they're basing it all on oil, when oil rebounds, they'll balance their budget and happy days will be here again. That was an exact quote from the Minister of Finance in Alberta. What we have said is, look, what if oil doesn't rebound? What if we don't get back to $80 oil or $100 oil? And there's no guarantee that's going to happen. What is it we need to do to have a sustainable source of revenue to ensure that we can keep our healthcare centers, our schools, our universities, our highways and infrastructure, our justice system going, and our social services system going? We had to make some difficult decisions here, both on the spending side and on the revenue side. I think what I've heard from Alberta is they've increased spending. They haven't changed their tax structure at all, other than a new carbon tax brought in by that government on January 1st of this year, and they're pinning all of their hopes on oil rebounding, both from the oil sands sector and conventional oil. We've taken a different path.
Thanks for your time today, Minister Doherty. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jill.
That's the Finance Minister joining us from the rotunda of the provincial legislature today.